Hi, welcome back to Bexhill West. I'm James. Okay, so today's video is another kind of first look at a new laser cutting and engraving machine, the Creality Falcon A1. That's Creality's latest laser offering, and it's sort of targeted as a beginner-friendly machine. Now, I think the specs of it make it absolutely ideal for scale model making, and so I think it's going to be of special interest to viewers of this channel who like seeing some of the things I do. So regular viewers will know that I do lots and lots of laser cutting and make great use of that technology. I'm particularly interested in the A1 machine because it's the first machine I will have used that has a Core XY operating technology. So we'll get into that a little bit later on, what that means, but it should produce very accurate, repeatable work. So something I have experienced before on one of the budget machines that I have looked at previously was engraving fine brickwork, and some of the what would be the mortar joints between the bricks getting slightly out of alignment. The Core XY should absolutely nail that. And so in my tests I've been doing all sorts of brickwork stuff. This is a little prototype for a little coal office building that I've been working on. We'll look at that a little bit more later on in the video. Now, if you're interested in laser cutting and all that sort of thing, I will be demonstrating probably a week from this video going live on the weekend of June the 7th and 8th 2025 at the Scalefour Society's Scalefour Crewe exhibition, which is held in Crewe. I'll give more details of that towards the end of the video, but if you're in the area, you fancy popping along, you want to have a chat with me about laser cutting generally, I will also have this A1 machine there at the show connected up to an extraction system, and you can see it working, maybe even have a play with it yourself. Okay, so before we get into the video, I must say that Creality sent me the machine to test out. They haven't paid me to make a video, and everything I'm saying here is entirely my own views. I'll say what's good about it, and if I can think of any improvements that could be made, I'll mention those too. So then, this is the Creality Falcon A1 machine. It's quite a nice machine. It's quite a small footprint, which is great for desktop use. It's got a lift up lid on the top, nice and robust. You can see the integrated camera just there. Anyway, that closes nicely, and there's a front opening door just here. It's worth adding that there are magnetic locks on this thing, so that if we open the lid whilst the machine is running, it will switch off the laser and what have you, keep it super safe. It is a class 1 laser machine. So I've literally just got this out of the box. To the back of the machine I've attached the hose, and that in a moment I will connect to my fume extraction system. But that's pretty much it. We've got a power supply which plugs straight in, and really the only other thing that we need to worry about is the air assist unit. Again, there's a single plug for the power supply to it. We can connect the hose to the air inlet, and the machine is now good to go. There is also a USB-A to USB-C cable that we can use to connect this to our computer. And one other feature which I do quite like, should you wish to attach a rotary unit, there's a nice polarised plug that plugs in the side, which enables you to do that. On many of these sort of smaller machines, you've got to remove a panel to connect the wiring in, or you have to flip a switch on a circuit board somewhere to convert the format of operation. In this, we just simply plug it in the side. That's a nice feature. I don't use a rotary attachment very often myself, so we won't test that in this video, but otherwise that's all there is. Plug a few things in and a single screw onto like a big Jubilee clip, which is fastening the other end of this hose to an outlet on the back of the machine. The machine itself has got an extraction fan built into it, so it will withdraw any smoke and what have you, and we could just stick this out of a window if your environment sort of, you know, that was okay to do. Here I'm going to connect it up to my system in just a minute. But basically that was the setup of the machine. Dead easy. There's a key lock on it, which I quite like. I think that's a great thing to have. Turn that on. I'm going to flick the switch on, and hopefully you can see the inside of the machine is illuminated. When you turn it on, the air assist starts up. That will turn itself off in just a moment. The other Creality machines do exactly the same. So inside the machine, I've got the remainder of the tools and what have you that came with the machine itself, and the instruction book. We can look at all of that in the fullness of time. So I'm going to sort out a file and we'll run a test engrave on this machine and we'll see how it does. Oh, and on cue, the air assist is turned off. Okay, I said at the start of the video I'd tell you what was good and what I thought could be improved, and what you can see here is what I found to be the most irksome part of the whole setup process, in that this plastic film that protects the front door of the machine is kind of retained by the handle. A little bit frustrating. That's not the end of the world. Just had to get an Allen key and undo a couple of screws, remove the handle, peel the film off and put the handle back on. So not a great deal, but it took me longer to do that than it did to set the rest of the machine up. So first super quick observation here, this front panel is amazing. Not only does it give us a good view inside what's going on, the fact it opens up allows us to get in, see what's going on. I think this would be really useful just for vacuuming dust and stuff out of the laser head. A nice way of sort of giving it a quick clean whilst you're doing general machine maintenance. It's nice to be able to get in there and do that. Now this is a Core XY machine. What that means is both the motors that operate the X and the Y axes are mounted rigidly at the back of the machine. There's no motor on this carriage moving backwards and forwards. The theory is that the machine should be able to run faster and maintain its accuracy to a greater extent. Those are the benefits of Core XY. This will be the first Core XY laser that I've tried. It'll be interesting to see how it does. I'm going to give it some really repetitive fine work to do, engraving a brickwork pattern shortly, and that will be a good test for just how good this is. Now the top loading door also gives excellent access. Now Creality have very kindly sent me some of this walnut veneered 3mm plywood that they stock, so I thought for the first job I'd make a little display stand to hold some of my models. So I'm going to cut this, I'm going to stick this into the bed of the machine. I'll show you that in just a minute. I've designed the parts already, I've got those in Lightburn. I'll show you the drawing in just a sec, and this will be the very first job other than the calibration of the camera. So this will be the very first laser job. I'll show you how it cuts. I will follow Creality's recommended cutting parameters for this material, and we'll just see how it does. So I'm using these nuts that I've placed onto the base of the machine by way of a substitute honeycomb. And what I've done, which is really handy if you've got a camera, is within Lightburn I've taken a photo of this, and I've been able to arrange these nuts. They're not placed randomly. They should hold my part as I cut it. So I can lay the material in, I'll close the lid, and then in Lightburn I'll now take another photograph, just check that everything is properly framed up nicely. So I've got everything set, I've got my material in the machine, I've used the focusing tool to set the focus height of the laser itself. We're going to run with 230mm per minute at 100% power, and we'll see how it does. So I'll click start in Lightburn, fingers crossed. So there we have it, the first cutting experience. Let's see how these parts have turned out. Blimey. There we go, first go, and that has cut perfectly. Good quality surface finish, cut cleanly, very, very precisely. That's excellent. And again, you can see here an advantage of the very, very fine cutting kerf, or sort of line width you get with a low power laser, in that this part is still retained within the material, yet it's cut out really nicely, very nicely indeed. Those parts are excellent. Right, so I'm going to run a couple more cuts for the rest of the parts for this little display stand. I'm really impressed. Now, with any of my other, I used the Creality parameter straight out of the box. With my other lasers, I would have had done a few test cuts and expected maybe to slow the speed down, or I may even be able to increase the speed slightly on this, but yeah, very impressed. This is nice material, by the way. I mean, this is going to make up into a really nice product. So, first thoughts then, after the first cut, really quiet, very quiet indeed, in fact. It would definitely be noisier on the camera than it is in reality. Yeah, it's worked a treat, I like it. So here is that display stand, all assembled, and I think you'd agree it looks quite smart. The walnut veneered material is in itself excellent. I think that lends as much to the quality of the job as anything else, but the cut edges are really nice, not all charred and sort of charcoaly as you can sometimes get with laser cutting plywood. So I'm really pleased with that. Now, I've built this specifically as a little display stand for some little models that I'm currently building, and they sit on there. Whoops, there we go, they sit on there, a treat. Now, this spurred me on to try all sorts of other things out, and I thought, as I mentioned previously, brickwork is always a good test for a laser cutter. So I'll bring the camera in close, and I've made a number of swatches here of different brickwork bonds. Now, these obviously require, you know, real repeatable precision to get everything looking just right, and the eye can pick up if something's off on these so easily. So I'll zoom you in close and we'll have a look at these in detail. Now, excuse me, I'm a bit of a brickwork nerd and I do like things to be right, but here's probably the most common brickwork bond that you'll find, stretcher bond, and I'm hoping that the camera's picking up just how accurate this is. It looks really beautiful. Now, if you're making a model of an older building, it could well be that you won't see stretcher bond, you'll see Flemish bond. Now, Flemish bond, you've got an alternation of the stretchers, which is the long brick face, and the headers, the short face. So I thought, let's try Flemish bond, and this these tiny header bricks, that's going to show how well or badly the Core XY system works. And hopefully you can see these things are so precise, and every brick is exactly the same size, which is really nice. Now, particularly on railway architecture, you come across this one a lot. English bond. This time we've got alternating courses of stretchers and headers, and hopefully you can see, although we've got 3 times as many headers on this swatch, they're all perfect. Now, this edge represents the corner of a building, and you can see the really tiny queen closer bricks. They're the little tiny ones that you have to use to get the bonding to kind of course out and work nicely, and all of those again are reproduced perfectly. Now, variation on English bond, English garden wall bond there. I'll let you tell the difference. And I thought we'd try a couple of others out just for a bit of fun. In fact, I'm going to refocus the camera. So here we go, here's a bond that you see occasionally in parts of the UK, monk bond. And if you stare at your screen long enough, who knows, you might see some sort of mysterious image appear in it. Now, I thought to really test out how well this Core XY system would work, we would try some header bond. So there you go, header bond, all entirely headers, except of course for those minute little queen closers. Let me get a little stick, these tiny little bricks here, and just look at how well the machine has captured all of that detail. I think it really is superb. Now that got me to think, well, how would that work on a building? So excuse this, there's a couple of small errors on here, and I've painted this quickly, and there's a couple of embarrassing little paint splodges that I need to tidy up. But let's just have a quick look at this. If I move the camera to do so, refocus it. There we go. So here's a very simple model. I'll show you what this has been produced from, but you can see I've started to paint up the brickwork here, and I've not finished this yet, but I've started to kind of weather the end and put some mortar on. When that's finished, it's going to look really superb in my opinion, and that's all produced using 1mm MDF and the Creality Falcon A1. So here you go, that's one of the frets of parts, still sort of in the raw, and those were simply painted, and already just with one coat of paint they look really quite splendid. Now what's quite nice, if I reach down, on those swatches I showed you all the little brick details and the queen closers and what have you. Let's focus the camera. There we go, hopefully that's in focus. And I've just very crudely picked some of those queen closers out, and hopefully you can see the detail. I think it looks quite nice. Probably looks better in the real world than zoomed in on the camera. I might cringe actually when I look at the footage back. But anyway, there you go. That's a nice little project. Now I made a note of my settings. I cut these parts at 1000mm per minute at 100% power, and the brickwork detail was engraved as a line 6000mm per minute, again at 100% power. Now I got a bit carried away after all of that, and I thought I'd try some other bits and pieces. So here's the start of a brick retaining wall, and I'd hoped to do a little bit more on this before making this video, but there you go. Just goes to show how that machine, you can do all sorts of interesting stuff. Now there's some applied detail that's going to come onto here, and I've not glued it on yet, but I'll show you that in a future video. But this is the sort of work that I think this Creality machine is ideally suited for. Now this particular thing is a 1mm MDF skin on a 3mm MDF structural sort of backing, and I've just applied some built up details just stuck on. Now there's lots more detail to go on here, and you'll see this in a future video. So then that reviews the sort of the output of what I've produced with this machine in the couple of weeks or so in which I've had it. I think the machine is excellent. It's a 10-watt machine, so relatively low powered, but as I mentioned in the video, lower power isn't necessarily a negative, and in fact if you're working with lighter weight materials it can be a definite advantage because of the reduced laser kerf width. Anyway, I'm very pleased with it. I'm looking forward to Scalefour Crewe on the 7th and 8th of June and having the machine on display for people to have a look at and a little play with. I think for me the headline sort of benefits of this machine, and the fact the smoke withdrawal system is absolutely superb. Getting rid of the smoke is a massive quality of life improvement, and if you're used to an open frame laser with the smoke going everywhere, it can be very difficult to sort of collect up. With these types of enclosed machines, and particularly one as efficient as this one, there's just no smoke. I also like the fact that it's very quiet in operation, and in fact when you're running it without the air assist for certain jobs, it makes very, very little noise at all, just a gentle hum. It's quite pleasant to be working around. On the negative side, I have found that if you want to, if you do a job and then you want to go over it again, maybe engrave a bit deeper, if you allow the machine to go back to the home switch, then sometimes it doesn't, it gets the kind of like a few steps out, if you like, with the calibration against the home switch. I don't think it's something I've done. I think it's just, it's not registering the switch sort of triggering or sort of repeatably, consistently, shall we say. So it's getting out ever so slightly for a second pass. In normal cases that wouldn't be a problem, but it's just something to bear in mind, and I'd be interested to know if anybody else who's used one of these machines has noticed the same thing. Anyway, that's it for now. We will do a follow-up video in a few weeks' time when I've played with this some more. We'll look at some other materials, but for now, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see some of you in Crewe. Cheers. Cheerio. Oh, before you go, I've just thought of something else. As I've been putting this video together and editing it, I see that there's been a comment on one of my other videos from a gentleman by the name of Martin. Now, Martin wrote to let me know that he's been watching and enjoying my videos whilst he recovers from what appears to be quite a serious operation. And it got me thinking about the comments in general. I love it when people leave a comment, tell me what they're doing, show me that they enjoyed the videos, or better still, told me a little bit about what they've been up to. And so it was really nice to get some positive feedback from Martin, especially as he's sort of in the wars of it at the moment. So to Martin and everyone else who's left a nice comment for me recently, thank you ever so much indeed. The feedback is really appreciated, it's really motivated, and I'm sure all the viewers of the channel will join me in wishing Martin all the very best for a speedy recovery. Cheerio.